nearly 2 months since XDefiant launched, and I've spent quite a while playing the game. Now that the honeymoon phase of the game is over, I want to talk about my experiences playing the game and whether or not it can compete with Call of Duty. In my opinion, XDefiant is a good game. It's fun to play, but that's about it. I have serious concerns for the longevity of this game. Before we get into the video, I just want to say that on this channel, I'm never going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to speak my mind and give my honest opinion on anything I talk about. A lot of the videos I've watched on YouTube about XDefiant are made by content creators that have creator codes, or content creators that are focusing solely on creating XDefiant content. Obviously, these YouTubers have an incentive for you to play XDefiant and watch content on it. That's not to say that these videos aren't good. Most of them are really good videos. What I'm saying is, I don't have any incentive or connections to Ubisoft or XDefiant. In this video, I'm going to give you my honest, unbiased opinion on the game. In the 2000s and early 2010s, there was an abundance of FPS games. Most of these games were multiplayer arena shooters. The multi-billion-dollar market had a bunch of game studios looking to create the next big franchise. If you wanted to play a multiplayer shooter, there was a bunch of different games you could choose from and play. But recently, the competition had seemed to disappear, especially in the arena shooter market. Of course, indie developers are springing up and making great games, but AAA studios have seemed to leave the FPS arena shooter market alone. The top franchises still in the FPS market, such as Call of Duty and Battlefield, started to make changes. Call of Duty specifically made significant changes. A Battle Royale mode was launched with Black Ops 4, and then in 2020, Warzone was launched. Warzone was, and is, insanely successful. Activision started to focus more and more on it, which I believe led them to neglect their multiplayer mode. Around Modern Warfare 2019, another new feature was added to COD, or at least was significantly changed from previous games. Skill-based matchmaking was tuned up, and normal public matches became almost unplayable if you were a good player. Skill-based matchmaking is probably one of the biggest reasons I and many others don't play COD regularly anymore. Gone were the days when you could hop on COD and just sit back and relax. Now, if you're a good player, every lobby you get into is full of tryhards and sweats. If I wanted to play competitive sweaty games, I'd go play ranked. I don't understand why Activision is insistent on having skill-based matchmaking in the game. I get that they are trying to protect new players and bad players, and I get that it's all about engagement and using data analytics to maximize game time, but it's honestly fucking boring. New and bad players had no problem before having fun or staying on the game. Maybe the statistics show that players are more likely to spend money on skins in a game if they think they're good. Who knows? But anyway, skill-based matchmaking is another topic I'll be making a video on very soon. The reason I'm talking about Call of Duty and skill-based matchmaking is because skill-based matchmaking and a bunch of other new features introduced to the Call of Duty franchise were obviously starting to annoy the fanbase. Players started looking for a new arena type game to play. There's an appetite for something new. The multiplayer arena shooter market is wide open at the moment, so I wasn't surprised when Ubisoft launched XDefiant. XDefiant was launched in May 2024. Ubisoft San Francisco is the game development studio behind the project. Ubisoft San Francisco previously worked on the Rocksmith series and multiple South Park games, as well as providing support for games from the Assassin's Creed and Far Cry series. Mark Rubin is the executive producer for XDefiant. Rubin was previously executive producer for Call of Duty before leaving in 2015. Former professional Call of Duty player and world champion Aix is also working at Ubisoft with the XDefiant team. During the game's beta, it was one of the top games to be viewed on Twitch, proving that there is an appetite for another arena shooter. The game is free to play and playable on console and PC. It's an arena shooter where two teams play against each other in a variety of game modes, such as Domination and Occupy. The game is very similar to COD. Each team has 6 players in public match, or 4 players in ranked. The game includes characters from various Ubisoft games, such as Ghost Recon, The Division, Watch Dogs, and Far Cry. Each faction and its characters have different and distinct abilities. The game includes a create a class, where you can pick what gun and grenade you want to use. Unlike COD though, there are no perks or kill streaks in the game. The faction and character you choose will decide what abilities you can use. Like in Call of Duty, the maps are typically small with 3 lanes. To be honest, I think the maps are really good in XDefiant. The game is also colourful, unlike other games where it can be dark and grey. A lot of the maps are based on other Ubisoft games as well, which is a really cool idea. The game had over 1 million unique players within the first 2 hours, making it the biggest Ubisoft launch in history. The game is very similar to COD in a lot of ways. To be honest, I'm pretty sure it was created with the sole purpose of competing with COD. The game is good, especially since it's a free-to-play game. So I guess I'll start with the positives. The game is free to play, so it doesn't cost you anything to download it and give it a go. The movement is fun and fluid, and being able to play public matches without skill-based matchmaking is honestly so refreshing. It's like playing a traditional COD game with updated movement. Like I said earlier, the maps are really good and play well. I play the game on PC, and it runs really good for me, so I've no complaints there. Considering the game is free to play, it would be reasonable to assume Ubisoft added some bullshit pay-to-win character or something like that, but thankfully, the only purchasable items are cosmetic only. The game has a battle pass where you can unlock skins and camos for your gun. I don't really care about battle passes and I've never bought one in my life, but considering how the game is free to play, it's understandable why it's in the game. It's only cosmetic, so I've nothing to complain about here either. Depending on what faction you choose, the in-game announcements are different. This is like a throwback to the older CODs, where if you were playing as the Spetsnaz, then your announcer would speak with a Russian accent. The game also has a ranked mode that launched earlier this month with Season 1. The gunplay is fun and the guns are relatively balanced. I see people saying the movement is broken, but I think it's fine. I like the fact I can strafe mid-jump. It increases the skill gap and I think it makes the game more fun. Probably the biggest praise I can give the game and the Ubisoft team is how transparent they are about the game on social media. The game is free to play, they don't owe anyone anything, but they're clearly very passionate about the game and they have big plans for the future. While I do enjoy playing the game, I have some criticisms as someone who played FPS games for many years. I also have some concerns for the future of the game. But before I get into my concerns, I just want to say that I'm aware of how difficult it is to create a game. So although I'm about to start talking about the negatives, I just want to reiterate that I think overall it's a good game, and I'm sure it's only going to keep getting better, but I don't think it will ever be good enough to kill COD. Any YouTuber who says XDefiant will kill COD is delusional, in my opinion. The only game that can kill COD at this point is COD. However, I do think the fact that the game is an arena shooter, the fact that it's free to play, has ex-Call of Duty producers and professional players working on the game, and that the game doesn't have any skill-based matchmaking in it, gives it a really good chance to compete, or at least force Activision to focus on Call of Duty's multiplayer mode. Right, let me get into the criticisms. I saw a video on YouTube where the guy was talking shit about the game's UI and menus. When I played the game, I actually never really noticed the UI, but since I watched his video, I can't stop seeing it. The UI isn't really that good. For example, if you want to unlock a new weapon, let's take the AA-12 shotgun for example, it says the gun is unlocked via a challenge, but it doesn't tell you what the challenge is. You have to back out of that menu and go into a completely separate menu to see what the challenge is. That being said, the UI isn't even a major issue. Any UI is better than the UI now being used in the COD games. That shit is horrible. Should the UI be updated and improved? Probably yeah, at some point. But in my opinion, there's far more important things to focus on for the time being. If you're not playing XDefiant with your friends, or trying to rank up in ranked play, or grind for camos, then there isn't much to do in the game. It feels very bare bones at the moment. There are only a few guns to use, and only a few maps depending on what game mode you're playing. There is little progression besides needing to reach level 40 for ranked play. I don't even know why ranks are in the game, especially for public matches to be honest. And for the progression that is already in the game, it's insanely slow. I don't know what anyone else thinks, but I think the fact the game doesn't have a lot of content at the moment meant that the developers decided to make what was in the game longer to unlock. Obviously, XDefiant is a different game to COD, and they're going to do things differently, but it's obvious to everyone that it's trying to compete with COD, so I'm going to keep comparing the game to COD. In COD games, ranking up unlocks new weapons, perks, kill streaks, calling cards, etc. But in XDefiant, the game is so bare bones that there isn't any reason to rank up or grind, unless you're going for camos. I think the game is popular at the moment for two reasons. The game is free to play, and it was released in May, in the middle of Modern Warfare 3's year. If this game dropped back in November when Modern Warfare 3 released, or if it dropped next October when Black Ops 6 releases, I don't think many people would be playing it. I seriously do think that when Black Ops 6 is released in October, a large portion of XDefiant's player base is going to stop playing. Think about it like this: imagine COD didn't release a new game every year, but instead you were playing the same COD for 2 or 3 years straight. How many people do you think would be playing it in year 3 compared to year 1? The daily player count would obviously be much lower. XDefiant will have to keep releasing content every few months to stay relevant, but how significantly can XDefiant be changed? It's the same game after all. Yeah, you can add different factions and operators, different weapons and maps, but at the end of the day, you're playing the exact same game. When a new COD is released, it's a noticeable difference. Even though it's obviously still COD, the whole theme of the game changes, the music changes, the maps are usually all new, you have new weapons, new features, updated movement, everybody starts from scratch, everybody has a new reason to grind the game. Releasing a new COD every year keeps the COD franchise interesting and popular. They get a massive surge in players playing the new game and watching content on it, simply because it's new. What is XDefiant gonna do? Like seriously, when Black Ops 6 releases, what could XDefiant possibly add to the game that will persuade players to play it over the new COD? This is where my main concerns for the game come from. In my opinion, if you want to compete with COD, you need to have something unique about your game. Let's look at the traditional competitors for COD. Battlefield had big maps with vehicles and destruction. Halo had its campaign and distinctively different gameplay. What does XDefiant do differently to COD? It's not having skill-based matchmaking really the game's selling point. The game's selling point can't be not including a feature that another game has. It's not going to work in the long run. What if Activision decides to take out or reduce skill-based matchmaking? Then what does XDefiant do differently? This is by far my biggest concern for XDefiant, and it's a concern I don't think different seasons or new content or patches is going to resolve. I don't see the game having any longevity. I could sit here and talk about some of the glitches and bugs I've encountered every time I play the game, or talk about how the spider bot is one of the dumbest gadgets I've ever seen in a game. I could talk about how the netcode isn't great, or how trading kills with someone is bollocks, but I don't really see the point in going into detail on these. The team behind XDefiant are obviously very passionate about the game, and they're also transparent about what fixes and updates they're working on, so I'm sure these changes and fixes are coming soon. I'm simply just asking, how does Ubisoft plan to keep players playing XDefiant when all these new games are released later this year and next year? In the 2000s and early 2010s, the FPS market was filled with competitors. Many developers and publishers were trying to compete with Call of Duty. We had Battlefield, Halo, Medal of Honor, Homefront, Rainbow Six, and a bunch of other games. While not all games were trying to imitate Call of Duty, they were definitely all competing in the same market, and they all brought something different to the table. This competition caused game developers to innovate and improve upon their existing games. Do I think XDefiant can compete with COD? Yeah, I think it can compete, but I don't think it will ever be nearly as successful or popular. I hope it will give Activision a wake-up call and remind them that there could be more competition for COD in the future. But yeah, I don't really see XDefiant remaining popular in years to come. The whole selling point of the game is being an arena shooter without skill-based matchmaking. When new games are released and the honeymoon phase is over, how many players do you think will still be playing XDefiant? I don't think there is anything the game can add or update in upcoming seasons that will ever make the game as popular as it was at launch. The game isn't unique in any way. That's not to say the game isn't good. I think it's a really good game and I enjoy playing it. I think the majority of us enjoy playing it because it's refreshing and reminds us of what the older CODs were like. Obviously, this isn't entirely true because the game has operators, but you know what I mean. I'm glad XDefiant was made. I played the game a good bit and I enjoy playing it. I'll probably keep playing it for the next few months, but I just don't see how it's going to stay popular when new games are released. The FPS market desperately needs more competition, and I genuinely do hope XDefiant can add more content and keep getting better. I also really like how open and transparent Ubisoft, Mark Rubin, Aches, and everyone else working on the game is. I think gaming needs more of this, and I want to support game developers who are transparent and who are open. I'm just simply concerned the game will fall off in the coming years. Anyway lads, that's just my opinion on XDefiant. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe to my channel for more FPS videos. Let me know your thoughts on XDefiant below. Do you think XDefiant will still be popular this time next year? If you do, I'd actually like to hear why you think so. Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'll see you later.